That's the company's take. Joining us now in studio is Canadian Union of Postal Workers negotiator Jim Gallant. Mr. Gallant, good to see you. Thank you for making the time.
Thanks for having us on.
Mr. Hamilton says there's a new offer apparently coming to the negotiating table to the union tomorrow. Your initial reaction to that?
Well, we're happy that an offer will come if it comes, but it leaves us very little time to deal with it before we're in a position where we can be locked out or we could be on a strike. So that's the situation we find ourselves in. If it's going to be a lot different than the last offer, we're going to have to go through it. It's legal language. We're going to have to make sure that the right commas are in the right spots, and it doesn't leave us much time to do that. So we're not sure why Canada Post walked away from the table last week again for a third time in 6 months, and we're hopeful that we get a deal, but we need time to look at it.
Understandable. I'll ask you the same question I asked Mr. Hamilton about the nature of the deal or the offer that could be tabled. How big of a difference in the union's view, and again, I know not everyone's going to lay out every detail of this for everyone watching, but how big of a difference from the union's perspective does there need to be versus the last offer that was tabled? Well,
I'm sitting here tonight. I hear Mr. Hamilton say that they're not going to try and change our pensions. That wasn't what they said in front of the commissioner. The chief financial officer said they needed changes to pension. He said
that's why I put it to him, to be clear, because I saw that in the report, and now he says no.
Yeah, and he said that they weren't going to try and change benefits, but they had a change to our retirement benefits. They wanted to increase our payment into that by 15%. Now he's saying that they're not necessarily going to do that. They wanted a basket of medical benefits instead of the regular benefits that most people have. So it sounds like they may have changed some of the things there. But again, with if those changes are there, with major changes, we're going to need time to look at that. And what the union is going to propose to the corporation is that we take 2 weeks to look at this. But we need their buy-in, and we're offering that to the government, to the minister. We met with the minister, and she told us to play smart. So we're making that offer that we would put off any strike or lockout for 2 weeks, so we can see Canada Post offer and make a real informed decision around what's going to be put to us tomorrow or whenever it happens.
Okay, so I hadn't heard that before, so I just want to make sure I understand correctly.
You're the first person to hear it.
Well, I appreciate that, and I'm sure people watching will appreciate to hear that as well. So if there is an offer tabled tomorrow, as Canada Post has said tonight there will be, you would like to see an agreement from Canada Post to basically stave off either a lockout or a strike on your part, give everyone 2 weeks to negotiate around that agreement. Is that accurate?
That's correct. We're looking to make sure that nobody makes the wrong move, and we're making that offer. We'll make it in person when we see them, and we're making it here tonight.
And you've conveyed that to the minister, you're saying? Like you feel as though
we've conveyed that to the people that are in touch with us.
Okay, and essentially it's your understanding that you have the government's backing to engage in that for 2 weeks?
The minister said for us to be smart and go forward and bargain in a good way, and we think that this is a good way. We're not going to exercise that right to strike if there's an agreement that we still have the right to strike in 2 weeks. If there's not an agreement. So we just want to make sure of our, the lay of the land, so we don't have to jump through all those hoops that you have to jump through before you can go on strike.
Okay, so we will certainly keep that in mind tomorrow when we continue to ask questions. On the substance of what separates the two parties, the union and Canada Post at this moment, I did want to ask you about something that we talked about 6 months ago as well, and that is the idea that, and I could put this to Mr. Hamilton as well, but that a lot is wrong with Canada Post, right? And a lot of it has to do, according to this report that was commissioned by the government, with problems with its mandate that they think should be changed. But the person who authored this, who did this report, very specifically comes to the conclusion that he disagrees with the union's conclusion about what went wrong, right? That I am not persuaded by CUPW's assertion that Canada Post mismanagement and incompetence are the reasons for the current financial situation. He concedes there are some, but that it is not the totality or the most important factors that have led Canada Post to where it has arrived at today. And he kind of lays out this scenario where, like, there's one set of facts that he agrees with and then one that the union operates under. Do you understand, I guess, the gap that exists there and why it makes it seem like a deal is so hard to have?
Tonight, Mr. Hamilton told you that mail had been in decline for 30 years. They've made it clear that 2006 was the biggest year of mail volume. So that's 19 years ago, not 30 years ago. So when you start with inflating your numbers, that's the first problem. And then it goes from there. The corporation talked about in front of the commissioner saying that banking was not their core value, that they didn't have the infrastructure for that. If you're on Facebook or any other social media platform today, there are ads out for Canada Post called My Money, and they're looking to get into savings and checking accounts for Canadians to offer them to get away from same-day lenders and stuff like that. So they say one thing when they're in front of the commission, and then they do another thing a couple of weeks later when the heat is off them.
And I do understand that juxtaposition, but I would give some credibility to the individual who embarked on this expedition, right, who looked through the testimony that he was given or what he listened to, and ultimately who concluded that it wasn't entirely Canada Post's fault and the management of Canada Post that it ended up where it was. Whereas your union's assertion is that it is, which would help inform why you think there's so much more to give and why there should be more money on the table, for example, or different rules on the table. He says it helps buttress Canada Post's argument that they were going to not be able to meet payroll, for example, in this year.
But there was no testimony. Let's be clear.
Submissions, my apologies.
Yeah, no one was sworn to tell the truth. The commission had evidence that they wouldn't allow in, and no one testified. So people told a story, and whatever, I guess the commissioner believed one story and didn't believe the other. That's ultimately it, because the evidence that we provided, for instance, on the fact that full-time working on weekends would be cheaper than part-time people only working on weekends. There's nothing in there that says we were wrong. It just says that's not what Canada Post wants. So we're making it clear that we're trying to get for when it comes to weekend delivery. Canada Post started off by saying they needed straight time delivery. And that's what we've offered them. We just offered them so full-timers will have, instead of everybody having Saturday and Sunday off, somebody's going to have Monday and Tuesday off. Somebody's going to have Wednesday and Thursday off, that sort of thing. That's something Canadians can deal with. And Canadians don't want part-time jobs that have 16 hours a week, working weekends. Canadians want full-time jobs. That's what most Canadians want, and that's what we're in. That's what we're in the business of as a union. We're trying to make it so people can live.
I gotta leave it there. I just have one quick question that I want to ask you that I concluded with Mr. Hamilton. Your position quickly on binding arbitration from the government? Binding
arbitration, the interference by the government, even the commissioner said that that's a problem. Every time they interfere, it causes problems.
Okay, all right. Well, I will leave it on that note. Thank you very much, Mr. Gallant. Appreciate it. Jim Gallant is the negotiator for CUPW. And just to recap very quickly what Mr. Gallant told us, that Canada Post earlier on the program said that they would deliver an offer to the union tomorrow, when there's supposed to be negotiations that begin with the help of a mediator. And Mr. Gallant said that if, in fact, they do receive that offer, they are willing to put aside the possibility of a strike for 2 weeks if Canada Post agrees to that term in order to further negotiate and basically further scrutinize whatever is in that offer. So the possibility exists tonight for a 2-week kind of stave off or delay to the prospect of a strike, which was coming down the pipe as soon as Friday. We will continue tracking any developments and reaction to what you heard here on this program. I will also note that Jobs Minister Patty Hajdu and Labour Secretary of State John Zuricelli were both unavailable for an interview this evening because of a cabinet meeting. The minister's office did refer us to her statement from Friday, which reads in part, "It's time for everyone to put aside their differences, focus on shared goals, and ensure a strong postal system now and into the future."